What's up, everybody? Welcome to Budget Wargamer, and today we're going to do a live hobby video. So I've done some hobby videos in the past, and I've done one live video in the past, but we are finally up and running, and I wanted to walk through painting the Myphitic Blight Hauler. We're going to do some hobby time here, and I've got it base coated in some Rust-Oleum Armor Green, or Army Green, and this is the closest thing to Death Guard Green you can get, and it costs about $4 or $5 from Walmart. So that's what we're going with as our undercoat. And then we've got two of the Citadel colors that we're going to dry brush on top and then do an armor wash real quick that's going to do most of the green that's on the model. So we've got Nurgling Green, which is a dry paint, and Underhive Ash, which is another dry paint. So let's go ahead and start with Nurgling Green. And we're going to get one of our old nasty brushes and we're going to rough that sucker up. It's roughed up pretty much as it is. This isn't anything fancy. This is like probably a brush I stole from my kid's hobby drawer. Or it's really an arts and crafts drawer when it's for my kids. But alright, so let's go ahead and double check. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio. And if you're getting a good stream signal there. We've got some people watching already. So let's see here. How do I bring up the chat with you guys so I can see what you're talking about? Live. All right. I'm going to say hey in the chat just to make sure it's working. All right, cool. So feel free to use the chat. I'm going to get this Nurgling Green out. And this is a gummy paint. So what we've got to do is kind of work it onto the brush. And then we got to brush off the excess just like any good old dry brush. Hopefully at this point you guys are familiar with that technique and then we're not learning something new. And what we're going to do is try to catch this in one direction. So we're going to do, in this case, the up and down. We're going to bring that out to the edge. This doesn't have, we're not fully painting it. We're dry brushing, so let's go ahead and keep moving on. And this is the first of the lighter coats. And you're going to see what we do when we bring on this wash or glaze afterwards. It's going to make this look a lot like what you see there on the right hand side on the preview. So that's the Games Workshop version of it. We may not get exactly to that, but we're going to try to get pretty close. And this is meant to be an easy paint job, so not something that you have to be overly skilled to do. Something that's not time consuming. I do plan to get two more of these guys in my force, so just going to take some time to get them, right? Just like most things we want. Hey, go ahead and hit that like button if you can hear me. I'm new to this live streaming thing. And then also comment so I know who's in here watching. It says we got 3 people watching right now, but it doesn't tell me which one of you guys it is, guys or gals. So this is the boring part. You're essentially watching paint dry, but I'm sitting here frantically. There's no real grace to this, right? The key is just, keep your brush dry. Don't get your brush wet beforehand if you can help it. Because we're trying to hit all the raised areas that we can get to. We're painting this right on top of the spray primer, or in this case the ultra flat Army paint. And so you'll notice that we've lightened it up a little bit from this color here to here. You can see a little bit of a difference, right? So nothing gee whiz there, but I think we're pretty much done with the armor plating. Nope, I got to hit this part and then I got to hit that part. So take another dip into the Nurgling Green. We'll go ahead and close that up, and then let's get that going. Yeah, that went on heavy that time. Oh well. It's alright, it'll work itself out. Alright, so that's the first. Now we're going to put that paint away, and we're going to move on over to the Underhive Ash. So this is a little bit lighter. This isn't necessarily going off the Games Workshop painting guide. This is my painting guide. So this is the Budget Wargamer tutorial on how I personally paint Nurgle. And this is for, you can see how lighter that is compared to the Nurgling that we just painted on. And so we're going to bring that up. And we're going to kind of make this streaky too. I feel like that's partly how you get some of that nasty color. You kind of want to get grungy with it. This dry paint, man, I'm telling you, I learned how to paint back when all the paints were the same consistency. This dry paint takes some getting used to. So we want to make sure we accentuate the highlights and the ridges here. The Underhive Ash is really going to bring those out. That way we can see the creases, see that third dimension pretty strongly. Comment below how you guys paint your Death Guard. If you're currently a Death Guard player, or if you're just a Budget Wargamer fan, you know, you just like hearing me talk about hobby. I felt like this week the news was so swamped with Imperial Knights, and I didn't have the money to go out and get them, unlike some people. And then also Age of Sigmar 2.0, which I'm really excited about the Night Haunts for that. So again, I don't think I'll have the money for a little while to go out and get those. I'm not exactly YouTube rich at this point. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead. Yeah, you'd think that good-looking paint jobs would be a little bit more detailed or a little bit more involved. So not always the case. So kind of using that Games Workshop one as a reference. It's part of why I kept it up there on the side. That, and so you guys could see what I was aiming for. But really, because I didn't want to have to go back and forth, I was cheating and I wanted to see what I needed to know there. So you want to focus your lightening on the flat areas, the exposed areas. All right. So that's essentially the muck and the fuss about it. Let's get a little bit more on here. We'll go for one last one, and then we're going to close that up. And I want to bring out, yeah, there we go. Bring out the insides here. Lighten up the backside there. This needs a heck of a lot more brightening. And you kind of just do what you do when you do these models. Everybody's got their own little technique, their own little favorite. Alright. So we're not going to hit it with the washes yet. I want to lay down some more of the dry colors, because if I add a wash, we're going to have to take too long of a break here. So that's where we're at right now with the dry brushing. Not quite a bleach bone color, but when it's built up on top of the green, it's kind of got that, it's reminiscent of it. But we've got a lot more that we need to hit up here with some other colors. So now I'll actually go and I'll rinse out my brush. And then I'll clean that off. Alright, so let's move along. Now what we want to do, now what I think will really bring it out is if I actually make the base black. As dumb as that kind of sounds, I think it'll make a difference, but I also want to move along to some of the metals. So we're going to take out Warplock Bronze. It's a little darker than what you're seeing right now on some of these metallic sections, but I think it's what I want to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and start by getting the brush wet. I'm going to take out one of my trusty palettes because I'm going to want to water it down. And in this case, I don't think I want to use this brush. I thought this was a starter brush, which I happen to like painting a lot of models with. This one's actually the trusty old GW detail brush that I want to save for later. So let's go ahead and mark that one up. Let's wet down one of these old starter brushes because we're just doing metallics. Sometimes these get a little gummy. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use as a point of reference the model off to the side. This is going to be the base color for a lot of my metallics. And you could even go in and paint the things that you're going to end up painting silver this way if you want to give it that rusty color. But I might not do that. I might just stick with undertoning the gold here with the Warplock Bronze. And I need quite a bit more water in my mix. There we go. You want the paint to do the work, not your paintbrush. If you let your paintbrush do all the work and you're actually manually moving it around the model, then you're going to wear your bristles out, and that's not going to last very long. So you don't want your paint to go on thick for many reasons. There we go. And since this is Nurgle, I'm not even going to be really offended if I get paint where it's not intended. I mean, this model's supposed to look gross and nasty, right? So, alright. Well, I thank you very much for the first compliment. You other guys that are being quiet, feel free to chime in. So, I'm not used to this live thing. I assume at this point you all can hear me. Maybe, maybe not, right? So we're not exactly making it beautiful. Not yet. We're going to make it ugly. And I also don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it, right? This is, as cool as this model is, to me it's just rank and file for this army. It's going to be one of a few that I'm going to have, so I need to be able to paint it in a reproducible paint scheme. It can't be something that's like ultra high technique or anything like that. There we go. There's some of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to pick out these colors around the edges and stuff. But this brush is a little bit janky for that, so actually let's do the spine first over its back. That actually will be a more appropriate thing to do with this frayed old starter brush. And if you're watching this after the fact, because we're going to post this after the fact, and I imagine more people will watch this later, feel free to comment as well. Let me know where you're from, if you're new to the channel. And if you are new, make sure you subscribe. We don't do live videos all the time. And I'm not quite sure when the best time to do live video is in terms of when most people are online. But Sundays seem like a lazy day, so it's Sunday night here for me. It's going to be Monday morning for some of you guys on the Pacific side, if that's where you're from. And you guys get a good view of the top of my head as I look down to paint on this thing, apparently. So did any of you guys pick up the new Imperial Knights? I know that Redbeard Boss did. and I mailed out his prize. He was the winner of my 500 subscriber giveaway. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, or at least it feels like we're closing in on it. We're, you know, well into the 700s now, so I appreciate all you guys for subscribing to the channel. And if you want to get more notifications about live videos like this, like if you missed this while I was doing it live, it's probably because you don't have notifications turned on. So that means go ahead and hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and that means, you know, on the rare occasion that I do one of these live videos, you'll get notified. And as a bonus, you'll also get notified when I publish my normal videos, so that'll help make sure you don't miss one of my videos. And I do a few of these a week, typically. At least that's what I've been doing so far. This is technically a channel I kind of didn't commit to doing, and created about, I think 5 years ago. But only recently did I actually like sit down and start doing it. So you'll see I got a lot of like splatter elsewhere on the model. You can't like beat yourself up over that. Not on a Nurgle model, man. It's almost going to make it better. We can go back and pick things like that out and even make it look more like rust, potentially. Or leave it as is. So there's some armies out there that are very forgiving to paint. Orcs are one of them for sure. Nurgle, kind of another one. You'll even see that I got some paint specks and splatter there when I was dry brushing. That's almost better. I kind of like that accidental paint splatter. But kind of wish I can get into the Imperial Knight Army. But I think what I did is I kind of looked at where I'd been neglecting the hobby. I need to, my current hobby, I needed to finish working on my Custodes. I need to work on my Death Guard. So I thought, hey, you know what? Custodes are kind of different and boring a little bit at the same time. You know, they're mostly just gold. But I thought on stream, because these Death Guard are more forgiving than the clean Custodes, that I could be a little bit more distracted and do this. Are you planning on picking up the Imperial Knights too there? Kind of a toss-up on what I'd get first, Imperial Knights or the new Age of Sigmar, but I've got quite a bit of Age of Sigmar stuff already, so I'll probably just stick with what I've got for now, and then once I commit to putting some hobby miles on these things, then I'll probably grab some more stuff. Plus, I'm still looking forward to Kill Team coming out, and I've got these Genestealer Colts I've been sidelining over here. I've also got my Skitarii Skaven army that I've got. And what I did with those is I'll have to show those to you guys sometime. I think they're up on one of the forums from years back when they first came out. But I used the Skaven from the Island of Blood, because I don't really play Skaven too much in Age of Sigmar. I have in the past, or at least I've collected it. Can't really say I've played it. But I had so much of those left over, because they were so cheap on eBay at the time, that I used the Skitarii Ranger bits, because I play Skitarii Vanguard models in mine. I don't know why I chose to go all in on the Vanguard, but as opposed to a mix of Rangers and Vanguard, but I like the Vanguard models better. And then I had the idea to take some of the Skaven from the Island of Blood and convert them up to make Rangers, because they looked kind of tech priesty and interesting being hunched over like some of the Skaven. But then I got the idea after that, why don't I actually make like space rats? So I did that, And I've seen some other people do it since then. I don't know if I was the first, but it was definitely an original idea when I did it for myself. So now we've undercoated all that nasty metal, or most of it. Now we're going to work towards the backside's nasty metal. And what you'll want to do is, now that you're base coating this with this dark warp block bronze, you don't want to leave it this dark or nobody's going to be able to really tell that it's metal. You're going to want to come in and highlight this with different bits of silver and gold. Probably not too bright of gold. You might want to come in with like a brass. But that is going to give you a little bit of variation. And I've never really been the guy who paints the models before I put them together. But every time I get to some of these tricky parts, I either tell myself, man, I should have waited to put this part together, or I tell myself, you don't got to paint it because nobody can see it anyways. So there's two sides to that coin, I guess. And then what I'm going to do back here is I'm going to paint this like a pink bubblegum color. I know that a lot of times they got these guys fleshy looking, but for some reason I think on these guys a bright pink bubblegum color with like some bloody pus colors, sometimes even some like blue veins and stuff like that, looks even more disgusting. So make them look gross, man. And how are we doing on camera? I'm kind of painting off camera there, huh? Alright. So let's get a little bit more water here. I'm also going to base coat the tracks with this color. A nice watered down version. So that's kind of what we got so far. Let's go get committed to painting these tracks up. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Darko? I was wondering if you were going to chime in. So I think you actually watched my other live stream, which was my very first live stream. So I think this is only my second one on this channel. I need to add just a little bit more paint here to my mixture. There we go. It was coming through a little bit too watery, like it wasn't quite doing the job. That's alright, you just kind of adjust as you go. And again, remember you're playing Death Guard, so they're forgiving. Alright, let's paint the fronts here, up underneath. Yeah, I'm definitely going with the painting philosophy on this one, that if you can't see it, you don't need to paint it. And you don't need to be perfect. Let's get a tiny touch more water there. So any of you guys out there have these in your army? This is one of the easy to build kits. It's the only way they release this model, is one of the easy to build kits. I find it quite interesting that a couple of the armies, or a couple of the units here for Death Guard specifically, are easy to build only. And I don't think that any of the Space Marine stuff ended up being that way for the Imperial Space Marines. But Death Guard has the character with the Terminator armor and the 3 Death Guard Terminators, the Paladins, whatever they are. I haven't bought those guys yet, and I don't know if I'd really field them in my army, but that's a character and a unit that's only available as easy to build, so it means they're snap fit, just like this one was. I did, of course, glue this together, but if you're relatively new to the hobby, I guess don't quite glue it together until you're comfortable painting it, but whatever. So we're getting these tracks nice and bronze. These are going to be such a good base color for when I come back and add the grotesque stuff to it. And I think I need to add some here. Yeah. So we'll just kind of sloppily throw that in there. Might regret that later, but you know what? I feel like I've neglected the hobby for so long in terms of actually painting my stuff that getting paint on this model right now is like a relief of guilt, sort of. Seems like my hobby lately has been making YouTube videos for you guys, but I like talking about the hobby. For a couple years I worked for Games Workshop, both as an outrider when they had that program active, and then they finally built an official Games Workshop store here in Arizona about the time I was in my sophomore year of college, something like that. So chose to work for these guys, and it was good timing because I was really enthusiastic about the hobby. Didn't have a lot of stuff distracting me. You know, even in college I didn't have a lot going on outside of school, and I got to do some fun events, some fun traveling, things like that. So got to do games days in LA, at least, as an employee. Lots of perks for doing that. Met a lot of people from the Games Workshop studio, so that was cool. Like meeting rock stars in the hobby. So let me take a look here, see about the chat. Yeah, feel free to jump in on the chat. I'll respond back. Won't type out my answer. I'll just say it out loud here, but feel free to chime in. That way I don't feel like I'm hobbying alone here. I know more people would probably be watching it. One, if I wasn't doing this on a Sunday night, and two, if I was painting something that had just recently been released that more people wanted to see. But you know, it is what it is. This is my channel. I'm not always going to do what all the other guys would do. All right, a little bit more here. Cool. All right, so that's kind of where we're at so far. You know what? You get bronze on you too. You get bronze, you get bronze. Alright, and I don't think... Oh, yeah, I missed a whole section. Must have been saving the best for last on that part. Right as I was about to say, I don't think I missed anything. I missed the whole front carapace, so... It's going to be a long video. I don't think I'm going to be able to paint all of it, but I'll keep it going for a little bit longer, like probably another half hour. That way people don't have to torture themselves with a full 1 hour video, and we'll get as much painted on this guy as we can. A little bit of water, a little bit of water. And I think this is the part where I'm going to have to... Too close for missiles. I got to switch to guns here. This is where I'm going to take one of the starter brushes. I swore I had another starter brush that was used and open, but literally must be escaping me. Reason I'm switching to this is that some of these details here I wanted to be a little bit more careful with because they include iconography and stuff. So I don't have to be perfect with them, but I just wanted to be a little bit more careful than I was being with the rest of the metal. So Darko, how's your YouTube channel coming along? Did you actually start doing it? And did you decide on doing it in English language or your local language? Emperor Richard on Soul Wars, if you're still with me, hopefully you are, I just finally looked up. I expected it to be that expensive. I thought for sure it was going to be $165. What I think the real gotcha is if you have to use that new Endless Magic, I don't know if there's going to be templates in the Soul Wars box so you don't have to have the models for the Endless Magic, or how the spells are really going to work, but it's going to be $85 for the Endless Magic box. I forget what they're calling that one. That's a bit steep, huh? That part of it, at least in and of itself. All right. A lot of details here are calling on me, but okay. So that's what we've got done so far. Base colored it, basically. Now I want to go back through and do my bubble gum back here. So I'm going to clean up my detail brush because I don't want to do all that with the detail brush. The start collecting box, it's a choice of the start collecting box, the Thunder and Blood, or the No Fear, depending on your preference, because they're all $80-85. That's going to be as we get closer to 1,000. So I think when we get to like 900, 925, something like that, we got about 200 more subscribers to go. Then we'll do a push for 1,000 around that time, and I think that's probably when it will be more appropriate. I don't want to continually drag on and beat a dead horse with giveaways. I felt like last time that my giveaway video, I started too soon. 2 weeks felt like way too long because I finally started making way too many videos. So I'm going to start here with Pink Horror, and I've got Emperor's Children for a little bit of a touch-up. I just need to make sure I got that brush, that old starter brush, cleaned up. Yeah, Malign Sorcery. That's the name of it. So, yeah, I should use a wet palette. What's even worse here is that I've got a ceiling fan on above me. So it's kind of drying my paints out, which is good on the model and bad on the palette. But good advice, Darko. I've done wet palettes before, but it's a lot of work, man. All right, so we're going to get in here. And you're going to see that there's going to be this ridiculous contrast. But I'm going to add a wash over it. But I think that this type of, the pink, makes it extra revolting instead of the flesh. It also kind of reminds me of like Crag from the Ninja Turtles. That brain guy. So we'll go ahead. I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, what the heck? What did he just do? I told you it was going to be like this bubblegum color instead of this flesh color. And I meant it. I paint the tentacles on some of the Plague Marines this way too. That's what made me think of this idea. It was like, oh, I'll just do this just like I do with the tentacles. Yeah, it's got armor plates on, kind of like Shredder. But, you know, this is just going to get me to tabletop quality. We're not doing Golden Demon. It's not really a how-to or a tutorial on how you guys should paint yours. This is the hobby hangout. This is where I paint my stuff. And you guys come in to the chat, you chill, do what you guys want, say what you will. Make it a little bit more interactive than we do on the other videos where I'm just chatting about the hobby, recording it, and then publishing it up. I gotta tell you though, on camera that looks a hell of a lot more pink than it does here in person. It does not quite look that bad or that grotesque, but man, if somebody's revolted by it, then I think I'm doing something right for being Nurgle. I mean, these guys are rotten, right? Rotten for a reason. Alright, there's a few areas that I want to touch up with a finer detail brush. So let's go ahead and get that out. And by finer detail brush, I just really mean starter brush. These starter brushes, man, these are lifesavers. I go after those $15 paint sets because I like the fact that they include these brushes in them. And the paints aren't half bad either for the size you get. All right. Yeah, it definitely doesn't on the screen. It looks way pinker than it does in person. So careful with that one. I think there's a little bit of like color play going on. But I mean, it looks like chewing gum to me, but on the screen it's like revoltingly thing. Let me mess with some of the color here on the camera. There we go. That's probably a little bit better. So we'll let that kind of dry up as I come back through. And I don't think I'm ready for black yet. I think what I want to do is done with Warplock Bronze. We'll put that back. Let's start finding some brass or something like that. I've got Liberator Gold and Art Gold, but those are for my custodies. Some Retributor armor, maybe. There we go, Rune Lord Brass. So I knew I'd bought some of this a while back. I don't think I've used it though. Gotta shake it up. Good point, Emperor Richard. I thought about doing some music and told myself, hey, do some music for this so people don't get bored. And I totally forgot to do that. And I don't know what the best way to do it is, but let's see if we can get some added in now. Better late than never, right? Oh, yeah. Who is the lurking watcher? Somebody hasn't chimed in. It's not me. Let's get logged in. And it's really not going to probably play all that great. Alright, this is exactly what I was thinking about playing too, was a little bit of Nirvana. So let me know if the music comes in. If it's too loud, let me know, I'll turn it down. If it's just, you know, a little bit of white noise in the background, I think that's the case. But the song, in case you're wondering, is Breed by Nirvana. So reminds me of my early teenage years. I don't want to bust out into karaoke though. I kind of have a tendency to want to sing along. Alright, so I'm lightening up those areas, but it seems like my warp block bronze might still be a little moist. So we're just brightening those up pre-wash. Okay, so Richard, you're saying that the music's great? Good, because it's coming through nice and loud for me, so I feel like I'm jamming out to it. But the microphone's probably only picking up some of it. So I'm brightening up those areas. All my models tend to be darker than what the Games Workshop people paint up. Either that or they just cheat on the color, I don't know, but I'm okay with it. And we're talking just rank and file. I'm not going to waste too much of my time getting upset over missing details, because you know what happens when you get down to that hobby store? Most people don't paint their models, man. If you're the guy that paints your models, you're going to look instantly better than everybody else. It's almost facts. Oh, all the words are coming through on the music too? Good. This is a decent mic. I know it's not TV quality or radio quality, but it is decent. What's your guys' favorite genre of music? For me, one of them is 80s music, and the other one is grunge. Those are my childhood. So this is like the pre-highlight for the armor here. Some of the armor I'm going to leave, that old warp block bronze, or tin bits as you'd call it, if you've been painting in the hobby for a while. And then I'm going to bring this out, wash the model, and then probably come back with some retributor in some areas, I bet. Make some of the gold pop. We'll also paint some of this metal a silver base on top of the warp block bronze. So this is actually a song I haven't heard in a long time. Was Matchbox 20? Where they been, man? Ooh. Yeah, I don't want to be dry brushing with this fresh starter brush. I almost started doing that out of bad habit. I like 80s rock too. Sorry, there's a delay here between all of us and also me looking up, but of course I like 80s rock. But I like Depeche Mode. I even like Hall & Oates. I don't even mind being Rick rolled, actually. I think his music's great. Rick Astley. I'm one of those guys that'll jam out when someone gets a Rick roll going. Alright, so let's switch up from the detail or the starter brush. Let's break this guy back out. Did I even get paint on you? Yeah. Alright. See, now I can be a little bit more zealous and dry brushy with this. Alright. I think I'll do the underbelly piece in this. Alright. So here we are so far. Now we're going to find one of our silver metallics. What do we have? There we go. Gonna yank one right out of the starter, one of the starter paint sets. What advice would I have for starting a Warhammer channel? One of them is get comfortable talking, because you want to be yourself. I see some people jumping out there, and I think early on you want to try to talk like a TV presenter or something like that, but it's not comfortable, it's awkward, and I think people just more identify with people who are more genuine. So everything that you've heard me talk about, just me talking, so that's one of them. Another one is kind of figure out what you want to do. I like talking about news and events, like current events and up and coming stuff, because it helps keep me up to date. So it's like kind of like I learn as I go, but I think a lot of other people are generally searching for it. So if you want to grow your channel, you're gonna have to talk about what's new, what's coming out. So there's a sad reality to that, right? Because if I just wanted to sit and make a channel and show you guys like every step of the way of me painting up my Death Guard and my Custodies, I'm gonna have a very limited audience potential. And people, if you're not, like, this model came out a long time ago, there's probably not a lot of search activity related to the Myphitic Blight Hauler, even though I know that there's a lot of people that were buying them, and there was a shortage of them for a period of time. But yeah, it kind of limits your scope. Where the news and current events, I think, never kind of fades. But I want to do a mix of this type of stuff and the current events. I don't want to be stuck just talking the news, but I certainly like doing that. Get good equipment. Mine could always stand to be better, but I think early on I underinvested in equipment, you know, especially for doing live streaming. You're going to need some really serious equipment for that, but the software thankfully is free. Right now I'm broadcasting to you guys through OBS, so that's an open source software. You can use it for Twitch. Since Twitch is live only, I haven't really dabbled into it too much. I've done a couple like odd broadcasts on there, but probably have one follower. Yeah, there's like a shortage of Myphitic Blight Haulers for a while. They're sold out on the web store. They were sold out at most hobby stores. I don't think that's quite the case anymore, but they probably underestimated the demand for them. I mean, a toughness 7 unit for $25? It's like, who wouldn't buy at least one of these for their army, right? So right now my Death Guard army is a bit of a work in progress. I've got about 30 Plague Marines, and that's, I forget the exact count, but I think I've got exactly as many as I need for the Plague Marine side of it. And then I've got a, what do you want to call it? The Lord of Contagion. So I've got him. They're just out of the starter box, but I've gotten a few starter boxes worth of the models. And then I've picked up some foated blight drones. So I got one from the Dark Imperium box. I got one from the what was the 40k box? No Fear. So I have 2 of those, and then I've got one of these so far, but I need 2 more. I'm going to field 3 of these guys because they are better in 3s, so they get +1 to hit, and also they take up 1 heavy support choice if you bring, or sorry, 1 fast attack choice if you bring in 3 of these, so very much worth it. And then I need to get 3 Plague Burst Crawlers still. So the Plague Burst Crawler is going to be a sizable investment, but that's what I've kind of listed out at this point, and that's it's about the whole force. So it's about all I have points for at that point. These guys aren't cheap. All right, so I got some silver in there. Now we need to get nasty with the green wash, so this is where we break out a Chthonian Camo Shade. Richard, in Age of Sigmar I play a lot. I've got Stormcast, the regular Stormcast Eternals, not the new one, of course. Orcs, Skaven, High Elves, Khorne, Beastmen, and I'm glad to see that Beastmen might be able to make a good resurgence here in 2.0 because they've been useless for a while. I've got Caradron Overlords. Those are half put together. I've never actually played them. I've got other stuff sitting behind me, but most of those other models I've been playing. I started off playing fantasy, so some of my stuff is still based fantasy and all that. Bretonnian was my very first army of all time when they first came out, so yeah, High Elves I've been playing since 2002 maybe, but I never really play them much. I just like to collect them. They're great models. I'm one of those guys, like, I buy more than I play. Like, it takes a lot for me to want to play an army, but it doesn't take a lot for me to want to buy an army. It's kind of shameful, but that's the truth. Alright, so this is a nice bristly brush. It looks like it's all frayed up, but it's soft. And we're going to get some of this Chthonian Camo Shade, and we're going to go to town on the armor. This is when the grossness comes about. Alright, let me pop this lid open. This is dangerous. This is when you see people spilling their shades and crying about it, so I gotta be super careful. Let's move that a little off camera. Alright, so with this, you're going to come in and you're going to nasty up this green that I've done. So you don't want to be stingy with it. You actually want to be very liberal. And this Chthonian Camo Shade, this isn't even Typhus Corrosion. I've got Typhus Corrosion and I've got Nurgle's Rot also for technical paints. This is just straight up, you know, you could be painting Wood Elves or something with this. But other than trying not to let it massively pull up, you want to work it all over the model. And this is your Nurgle magic, that Rust-Oleum green, army green spray paint, the Nurgling green and the Underhive ash. That is my Nurgle recipe, man, and it makes awesome Plague Marines. Really does. You want to have them look sort of like the box, in my opinion. You get this on there. Got a little Red Hot Chili Peppers playing. Give it away, take it away. He's trying to say I need to do a giveaway. Not going to happen tonight. I'm not giving away my Blight Crawler. I need these. Oh, I got it off camera a little bit. So it's probably going to take 2 coats of that to really get as nasty as I want. Bad as I want to be. Get some of that in there. Oh, will that fit in the starter set? That's genius, Darko. Too late now. But yeah, that's. I guess if they have the same base width in the paint pots, then that's genius advice. All right, so I didn't put any of that over the. Pink, but you know what the hell? Let's put it on the pink, man. What do you guys think? Alright, Emperor Richard. Later, buddy. Thanks for chiming in. Okay, this is looking fantastic on the pink. I'd been doing a red wash before that didn't really darken it up enough, and I think this might be the way to go. Then we'll go back in and we'll touch up the pink with that Emperor's Children once it's all dried up, and we'll make it look extra gross, or extra bright. Take a ride, got yourself. I'm going to town on this green. I haven't done it head to toe but this model makes me want to do this, so. Sometimes Nurgle will just inspire you like this. Alright, so that's where we're at right now. I would normally say that's a good stopping point, but I also want to paint the base black, so close up that camo shade before it gets too late. And now I want to look for some Abaddon black. That ain't it. There we go. Abaddon black, aka Chaos black. And just so we don't have too much green, I'm going to paint the base black real quick. This is like step 1. So this gets you up to all the base coats. But then you got to come in, you got to brighten it up a little bit. And I think it's going to need another coat of the camo shade on some areas of the green armor. Because I found that it typically takes about 2 decent coats. I'm not painting on camera, my bad. You're strange, you're a stranger. Alright, let's get that on the table. I like the Doors a lot too. They weren't one of the genres of music I talked about, but they come up a lot in my playlists, either because I thumbs up them so much, or in this Nirvana playlist I can say because I can see where Jim Morrison was a greater influence on Kurt Cobain. Although I'd have to say that Kurt Cobain was much more reluctant of the fame than Jim Morrison was. So, all right. So there's our stopping point, just past the 1 hour mark. Let's go ahead and get brushes cleaned up. Never leave your brushes in the water. Let's get them put back on the paint rack. I feel like I had a paintbrush cover for this, and it was clear, so that might have wandered off. But there we are. Alright. Let's go ahead and turn the music down. So this is as far as we got, just as a wrap up. We're like halfway done. We've got some brightening up of some of the colors. Some more stuff to do. I'd like to touch up, add some more bright pink pops there. Add some more bright stuff. Plus I want to use like a flesh color up here. Maybe I'll use the Underhive Ash straight on before I do the next overcoat. Here, let's go ahead and take some of that wash out here of the gold. It's pulling up a little bit too much there. We'll go ahead and add it back up top there. Alright, so we'll let that work its course, do its magic, and then we're going to be on our way to a Myphitic Blight Hauler there. Do you use rubbing alcohol, Darko? Yeah, that's right. Artificial intelligence knows me better. They've been listening to me here for what, more than 10 years on Pandora. So, used to be that everything would lead to like a Tool song or something like that. Eventually had to create like, eventually they were like, no, don't put Tool on this channel. I was able to finally dictate some of those and tell it not to keep switching to Tool on like my odd Elton John channel or something like that. So. But this will be looking nice and grungy when I get my next time around. So either I'll do a follow-up video or I'll do number 2. Maybe I'll do another hobby hangout and we'll take this to level 2. That'd be fun. It could give me something to do tomorrow because I don't expect any good news or any great news coming out of Games Workshop just yet, but you never know. So stay tuned to Budget Wargamer and you guys have a great time.